And we back. Sock Boss YouTube, welcome back to KashPiece. Today we talking top 7 morally gray characters. Most characters in the story of One Piece don't land as inherently good or inherently bad. Most land somewhere in the middle. Today I'm going to give you my top 7. Let's get it. Katakuri is the terrifying first mate of the Yonko Big Mom. His reputation is that of an amazing fighter who has rarely fallen on his back, let alone lost a battle. He is feared for his prowess in observation hockey, being able to see into the future, and his mochi mochi ability. While Katakuri maintains appearances to maintain his bravado, he is a man of honor who grew to respect Luffy the longer their fight continued. Katakuri is willing to do what's necessary, but he only has one true goal in mind: protecting his family, particularly his younger siblings that may not be able to fend for themselves. This is ultimately what fueled Katakuri to become the beast that he is today. Monkey D. Garp is a Marine Vice Admiral known as the Hero of the Marines for his role in the God Valley incident, where he and the former Pirate King Goldie Roger fought the Rocks pirates and saved the celestial dragons that lived on God Valley. Garp believes that the Marines are the right and true way to fight for justice in the world, even if he doesn't like the celestial dragons that are at the top of the world government. Either way, as with many that bear the name D, Garp loves to have freedom, even in being in the Marines. So he never became an admiral, even though he had the opportunity multiple times throughout his career. Mainly because admirals have to respond if ever a celestial dragon is in danger, and he didn't want to be at their beck and call, which I kinda get it. Garp is known for his fist of love, which is very fitting because Garp very much gave tough love to all the people in his life. And his grandkids, he knocked the hell out of them and threw them into the jungle to toughen them up. He wanted them to become Marines, but Ace and Luffy both wanted to become pirates, and both had pirate careers where they went against the Marines. Ace was captured and executed at Marineford. Prior to Ace being killed, Garp had a lot of inner conflict over what was the right thing to do in this situation, following his duty and justice as the Marine Vice Admiral, or following his heart and saving his adoptive grandson. Luffy confronted Garp at Marineford, and instead of Garp knocking Luffy out, he took a dive, showing he was at a moral impasse in regard to maintaining justice and his love for his family. When Akainu kills Ace, Garp is ready to kill Akainu if Sengoku didn't stop him. He also wanted his son to become a Marine, and instead, Dragon became a revolutionary and the world's most wanted criminal. His first apprentice, Kuzan, rise through the ranks to admiral status, but eventually decided to follow justice in his own path, defecting from the Marines and becoming a pirate. Kuzan says it best himself when he states Garp has created formidable enemies, with each of the people he raised having opposed him in the end. When his most recent apprentice, Kobe, is captured by the Blackbeard pirates, Garp goes to Hachinosu to save him, as Garp views him as the future of the Marines, even if that means facing off with his former pupil, as Kobe may be Garp's last chance at a successor to carry on his will and his justice. Sengoku is the Inspector General and former Fleet Admiral of the Marines. He came up the ranks alongside Garp and Suru, and was an admiral during Roger's era. During this time, he took on great pirates like Roger and Shiki in the name of justice. As the Fleet Admiral in the first half of the story, we see him make many vicious calls in the name of justice and to combat the pirate world. He allows for a buster call to occur on Ohara, which decimates the island. He sends Kuma to finish Luffy off after he declared war on the world government at Enies Lobby. He kept running the clock up on Ace's execution to not let Luffy or Whitebeard save him. He reveals to the world that Ace and Luffy are brothers and that their fathers are the former Pirate King and the leader of the revolutionaries. He attempts to cut the broadcast so the public can't see what's going on during the war, and he uses very savage tactics during the war. Now, if you want to know more about the tactics used by both sides in the Marineford War, I'll be dropping a video soon breaking down the strategies used in Marineford, so hit the sub button and click the notification bell to get notified when that drops. When Shanks says it's time to save face and end this war, Sengoku decides to end it out of respect and to tend to the wounded. When he finds out about the great escape of several very dangerous criminals from Impel Down, he wants to warn the public while the higher ups of the world government decide to suppress this information, as it would make the world government and the Marines look bad. This was the main reason he chose to step down from his position of Fleet Admiral during the time skip. Sengoku was a major father figure to several people growing up in the Marines, in particular Corazon and X Drake. Due to their shared love for Corazon, Sengoku and Law have a heart-to-heart at the end of the Dressrosa arc, where he tells Law to keep on living for Corazon's sake. Even now that he is semi-retired, he still keeps up to date with the affairs of the Marines and is willing to jump in if absolutely needed. Bartholomew Kuma is a former king, warlord, and founding member of the Revolutionary Army. We're introduced to him as a warlord, and for much of the story, his motives are unclear. In the Thriller Bark arc, he's sent by Sengoku to take care of the Straw Hats. This is important because we're shown time and time again that the warlords mainly abuse their position and don't even follow the orders of the Marines more often than not. Kuma is an exception to that rule here, and he shows up when they're all exhausted after beating Moria and Ors. Kuma could have easily taken all of them out, but he gives Zoro the opportunity to save them by taking all of Luffy's pain and giving Zoro an arguably top 3 scene in all of One Piece. How could Kuma go from a member of the group directly opposing the Celestial Dragons at the top of the world government to being a warlord, obediently following their orders, and eventually a slave to those same Celestial Dragons? Kuma's time as the king of Sorbet Kingdom hasn't been revealed yet, but he was known as Kuma the Tyrant, alluding to him possibly ruling with an iron fist. We will have to see in the future how accurate this moniker actually is. Kuma allowed the world government and his apparent friend in Dr. Vegapunk to perform experiments on him. Kuma's reasoning for allowing all this to happen is still unknown, but Kuma's final wish prior to being fully robotic was to protect the Straw Hat ship during the time skip. Is this just because Luffy is Dragon's son, or is there more to it? Regardless of Kuma's reasoning, the pacifistas created in his image are used for widespread destruction, and may be the original blueprint needed for the creation of the Seraphim. Kuzan, also known as the former Admiral Aokiji, was the first apprentice of Monkey D. Garp, the hero of the Marines. Similar to Garp, he also believed in having freedom within his form of justice. Kuzan is shown to not be as cold-hearted as someone like Sakazuki, for example in the Ohara flashback. While Sakazuki takes a no loose ends alive approach, Kuzan allows Robin and potentially his friend and former Vice Admiral turned deserter in Jaguar D. Saul to live. When we first see Aokiji as he appears before the Straw Hats, he decides to let them live when he could have easily one-shot all of them. Was it that he knew what was done to Robin's homeland was wrong? Or maybe the favor that he owed to Luffy's grandfather? After the Marineford War, Aokiji and Akainu duel for the right to become the Fleet Admiral. Kuzan loses and later joins the Blackbeard Pirates. Blackbeard implies that each member has their own reasons for joining him and dreams that they want to fulfill. While Kuzan saves Smoker from Doflamingo on Punk Hazard and exclaims that it's still him, implying that he still cares about rightful justice, he also joined the most ruthless of all the Yonko crews. The Blackbeard Pirates are known for pillaging, enslaving, and stealing devil fruits after all. Joining them has also led to him having to fight his former mentor and the Marines he had formerly sworn an oath to. He's clearly serious about proving his loyalty to Blackbeard, even if it means fighting his former mentor. Ultimately, Kuzan's endgame for joining them will determine if he's truly a villain or an anti-hero with a greater cause. Fisher Tiger was a fishman voyager who was captured and thrown into slavery at the hands of the world nobles. After years in slavery, he managed to escape, but grew to hate humans for how vile they could be. However, he couldn't allow all of the other enslaved people to stay captured in Marijois, so he climbed the Red Line and attacked the Celestial Dragons in order to free the slaves of all races, not discriminating against the humans, as no one deserves slavery. He became the captain of the Sun Pirates, and even though he did have a hatred in his heart for humans, he told Arlong and Jinbei not to kill humans. Arlong especially wanted to be ruthless with humans, but Fisher Tiger forbid them from stooping to the level of the humans. They even helped a former slave, a small human girl, return back to her homeland. However, the villagers of a previous island reported the Sun Pirates to the Marines, and the villagers of her town decided to allow them to ambush Fisher Tiger as long as they didn't return Koala back into slavery. And thus, Fisher Tiger was shot down by the Marines. All of the Sun Pirates were distraught, to say the least, including Fisher Tiger himself. On his deathbed, he revealed to the rest of the crew that he himself was a former slave as well. Believing that humans and fishmen should remain separate to the very end, he refused human blood that could have saved his life. Dr. Vegapunk is the world's greatest scientist, whose full motives are still a bit of a mystery. He has created many inventions that have been able to benefit the world and is world renowned for it. He also has a good relationship with the Revolutionary Army, even having the opportunity to be one of its founding members. The general public of the One Piece world have an overall favorable view of him. However, in the past, he was a part of the Mads Science Group, with several One Piece villains in Caesar, Judge, and Queen. Stussy was also a part of the group, but I'm not really sure if she's a villain yet. And this group was funded by an underworld broker. After that group had disbanded, he joined the world government so that he could have the funding to continue his scientific research. He won the Ebel Peace Prize for creating GP flowers, which turned gunpowder into flowers. He created inventions that could end world hunger, improve communication and sharing of information, and seemingly defy the laws of physics. Although some of his inventions could have a generally amazing use, it doesn't necessarily mean that his inventions will be mass-produced and available to the public. He's also experimented on prisoners such as King and Kaido for his research. The world government uses several of his inventions to rule over the world. This includes the pacifistas, weapons that have devil fruits, sea stone coating for ships to easily pass through the comm belt, and the seraphim, among others. His need to invent brought him to the point of splitting himself into 7 different bodies with separate parts of his personality. Some of these Vegapunks may show that there is a darker side to Vegapunk than we may see in the old man right now. Is it a want to better humanity that feeds his need to create and invent? Or is it simply to understand and to push the science regardless of the consequences?